Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting in a Fan. I do love saying that. So, it's been a while since I've done a video, and I think I've mentioned that, generally speaking, September through December is the busiest time of the year for me. And this September through December is certainly mega busy. Nonetheless, interestingly enough, something happened the day before yesterday. Right now it is midnight, the witching hour. It's so funny, even when I don't, it really fascinates me because sometimes I don't even realize what time it is. I'm a lot happier in my life than I've been in a long time. So sometimes I forget my chronological age, and although I remain quite focused on being punctual, there are times when I'm not conscious of the chronological time, or the clock time to be more precise. I do prefer to do my videos at midnight because it is the witching hour. I am a witch. But anyway, so the day before yesterday, which was Friday, October 23rd, 2015, I met with a regular client. She's been using my psychic services now for, I think, between 15 and 20 years. And from the time that I left her apartment until the time that I went to the Barnes & Noble bookseller store not too far from where she lives, I received two pieces of bad news. Nothing earth-shattering, nothing tragic. One piece of the bad news was annoying, and another one just bitched me out. It pissed me off because it reminded me of a lesson, a constant lesson that the goddess is going to lovingly and firmly remind me of. And I'm not going to discuss that now. I'll probably discuss that in another video. But I had a 20% off coupon for Barnes & Noble. And since I'm a member, I also receive an additional 10% off. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy a book. And what I did was I wanted to buy a book that would help me overcome this particular stuff, this gunk. And this is the book that I found. Now let me tell you something. And those of you that know me very well and that have been using my psychic services for years, you know that it was the only copy in this store. And it blew my mind. I was like, and I looked there, I looked in another place, and I'm like, it's the only copy of this book in the store. And I'm like, alright, meant for me. What really blew my mind was that this book was published in September of this year. So I'm finding this book a month after it was published. Sonia Choquette is somebody that I've known about for years. I have a few of her books. For some reason, her oracle card decks don't do it for me, which really frustrates me because, she's an incredibly talented author and spiritual coach and metaphysician. And, I do love oracle card decks. I do. I love using tarot decks. I love using oracle card decks. And she has several. And I love that Hay House has a really beautiful selection of oracle card decks. And yet, hers don't do it for me. And it's so frustrating, because, and I've had this with other decks before, not even just oracle card decks. I remember for years, people would be like, do you have the Cosmic Tribe Tarot? And I'm like, no. Now, those of you who don't know the Cosmic Tribe Tarot, the Cosmic Tribe Tarot was created and illustrated by two different gay men. I don't remember the name of the person who created it, but I think the illustrator's name is Stevie Postman. And I remember people would bring up this tarot deck for me because it has three lovers cards. One depicts two women, one depicts a man and a woman, and one depicts two men. Now, for the record, there are other tarot decks that have been created before and since that are a lot more gay male oriented. And some of them have the word gay in the title of the tarot deck, like the Gay Tarot by illustrated by Antonella Platano. I forgot the name of this tarot deck, but it's it's gonna bitch me out until I look it up. I'll need to look it up and I'll put it in the comments what it's called, because it's a very gay male pagan tarot deck, and the photographs depict gay male pagans, and I love that, and they're part of their own grove. So and I think grove is part of the title, but I digress. So I wanted to love the artwork, I wanted to love the concept, but it wasn't resonating with me. Those of us that use tarot decks, those of us that use oracle card decks, we know all too well we need to resonate with it. It needs to speak to us. It needs to scream at us. It needs to call to us. I have often said that tarot decks and divination decks and oracle card decks are like crystals. We do not choose them. They choose us. And there are some tarot decks and some divination decks and some oracle card decks. They're pretty, they're beautiful, they're lovely, and they don't do it for me. Regular playing cards, nothing for me. I look at regular playing cards, I want to play gin rummy, I want to play war, I want to play crazy eights. But the naipes, the Spanish, the Spaniard, barajas españolas, those cards scream at me, utterly scream at me. And it was funny because it wasn't until a few years after I began acknowledging and reconnecting with my Afro-Cuban heritage that I was like, the naipes, yeah, that's right. And the funny thing is, I almost never acknowledge my Spaniard blood. I know I have it, being Cuban, but it's not like, I forget about it. Honestly, I forget about the Spaniard part of me. I love the Caribbean part of me. I love the African part of me. But it's the Spaniard part of me that I'm not always remembering. The irony is that this past May, I went back to one of my favorite places on the planet, New Hope, Pennsylvania, and I finally went into a store called Celtic Traders, and it is a Celtic Iberian store, meaning that all the merchandise is either Irish or Iberian, or it is the part of Ireland that has Spanish influences, or the part of Spain that has Irish influences. And I loved the store, I loved the merchandise, loved the everything. The owners were wonderful, and there was one owner who was just beautiful energy, very knowledgeable, very genuine. You know, it's funny, I often refer to myself as antisocial, and this guy is not antisocial. He's like very welcoming, very forthcoming. You know, if I was a social person, I would have those kinds of graces. But anyway, so I have been reading prayers from this book every day for the past 3 days, including Friday. The prayers are beautiful, the prayers are wonderful, and it's so funny because there is a prayer in this book that I'm going to use for an upcoming event, which is a semi-private closed event. I'm not leading it per se, but I am one of the official leaders of this group. And I'll probably talk about this group at another time, but for this video, I wanted to focus on this. I love how the goddess reminded me that I'm not alone. I love how the goddess reminded me of so many intrinsic divine truths with regards to this book. And I love how I love the story behind this book. You know, in the accompanying blog post, I wrote that this is the third book that I have encountered that mentions the pilgrimage to St. James in Compostela in Spain. And it fascinates me how, you know, reading 3 different books, this one, a historical fiction novel set in France in the 12th century, and one of my personal favorite books by one of my personal favorite authors, the Encyclopedia of Mystics, Saints, and Sages by Judika Illes. How all three of them mention this particular pilgrimage. And it fascinates me. And yes, I am crystal clear that probably, if not definitely, at some point in my life, I will need to do the pilgrimage to St. James, or rather of St. James. But yeah, so I want to read. I actually want to read this prayer because this is the one that I opened up to. So it is on page 137, and it's called Surrendering to Divine Will. Holy Mother, Father God, divine loving light and heart of the universe, I humbly ask for the blessing of your grace to help me follow your will over my own. I am tired of following my ego, as it only leads me to isolation and doesn't bring me any joy. So today I ask that you move my heart and mind in the direction that you want for me. Make me aware of what I am not noticing, and shift my priorities to those that best support my soul plan and purpose instead of my limited ego-based agendas. Let me give up insisting that things go my way, and learn to listen and go with the divine flow instead. I have reached a dead end and have no idea what to do next. Please show me. This is my prayer for today. Amen, and with infinite gratitude. Oh, that felt good. I love reading these prayers. I feel good after I read them. You know, and that's something that is important. You know, for those of us that pray, and I love being a witch that prays. I really do. I love being and I still remember watching a news story when I was a little boy, and it was around Samhain. It was around Halloween, and we know how the media loves to talk about Samhain and Halloween in October, like the witch only has one holy day. That bullshit. Which, people wonder why I don't get so excited about Samhain. Now you know why. Because everybody talks about Samhain like it's the only fucking holiday a witch celebrates. Okay, but I digress. Anyway, let me go back to that beautiful state of being that I was in a few moments ago. Yeah, that's better. I could see my aura getting brighter now. Like, oh yes, peace. So, it was interesting because I remember that the Channel 7 WABC TV New York Eyewitness News was interviewing a male witch, not a female witch. And I was like, oh, that's different. And I love what he said. He said, spells are nothing more than a concentrated form of prayer. And I love that. And all these years later, that stuck with me. And I remember sharing this with somebody a few years ago. And this woman said to me, more than likely that was Leo Louis Martello. And I was like, oh yeah. One of the things that I love about Dr. Leo Louis Martello was, aside from the fact that he wrote great books, he was gay and he was gorgeous. Look him up. He's fine. Like fine. Like That's the somebody I want to have sex magic with. Anyway, so frivolity aside, fun aside, I highly recommend this book because I love prayer books. I really do. And for me, a prayer book has to be something unique. It's not, I'm not going to buy a book of Bible prayers. I'm not going to do that because I'm a happily recovered Catholic and I almost never read the Bible. Ironically, I am a huge fan of books written by Dr. Catherine Ponder, who is the director of the Unity Church Worldwide, headquartered in Palm Desert, California. And so many of her books can be easily and accurately categorized as mystical Christianity or practical Christianity. So I'm reading about the Bible when I read her books. Although, the witch that I am, I usually substitute goddess for God when I do the spiritual decrees. But I love the fact that the subtitle of this book is 200 Invocations for Challenging Times. 200 invocations, and she used that term specifically, and I'm like, that's interesting. So I love the book, and if you buy the book, let me know. If you have the book, let me know. If you buy the book after watching this video, let me know, because I would love to hear what you think about this book. And I do want to honor Hay House, and I do want to honor Sonia Choquette, and I don't want to read any other prayers in the book, or rather from the book. But I really recommend this book. And I certainly recommend you letting me know that you bought it, that you love it, that you don't like it, whatever it is. And if you've had the book for a while, which it's only been out for a month, so you know it's going to be a short while, but feel free to share what your favorite prayers are, because I would enjoy that too. I already have several favorite prayers, and that is now one of them. Anyway, so thank you, YouTube. I wish all of you many, many blessings. Have a great night. Have a wonderful week. And feel free to share some of your other favorite prayers, whether it's from this book or any other book for that matter. Thank you, and good night.